Welcome back to Vibius PHP Framework screencast. In the last episode we showed them how to download and how to install Vibius PHP Framework. And in this episode I'll be talking more about routing and also about MVC architecture. What makes routing possible in Vibius PHP Framework is the router class, which we have here. What router class does is basically it takes the URL request, which is currently empty, and it tries to find a match in our routes PHP file. If match is found, the action is executed. In our case we have an empty route, which is basically a home page or a default route, and that's specified here by little slash. And the action when the slash is found or where the route is empty is this function, which does view, loads, welcome, and it displays the view, which is currently welcome screen. As you may have noticed, we also have a route any test. To get to this route we have to simply type in test, which will do function, and the function will echo hello world. Without root class and without the framework and the MVC architecture, we would have to do folder slash file.php, and if file not found we get an error, file not found. But in Vibius we can do our screencast folder, which will get us to the home page because the URL request is empty. And if no route is found, let's type in something random, we get a debug screen, an error, route was not found, because this route is not specified in a root folder or file. But if you take this request and create a new route, which is basically a dollar route any followed by our route followed by the action, we can do an echo screencasting. Oh, we have a mistake. There we go, screencasting, because route was found. This route is this, and it was found, and the action, which is function, was executed. Router takes the URL request and also the request type to the server. In our case we are doing the get request, so we can specify, for example, let's do again test hello world because it's here, and we have any. Request types are, let me type it in, get, post, any, ajax. In our case we are doing get request, which basically means that we can do get in our route, which is test, as we can see here, and we change the type to get, which will still work because our request is get type. Or we can do any, so for router that means the type doesn't matter, which still works. But if we do post, our request type is still get, but the route is set to respond only to the post request type, so we will get an error, route not found, because no route for test and the get request type was found. Same goes for ajax. If you do an ajax and we do a regular get request, we'll get a route not found. But if you will do a JavaScript ajax request to this route, everything will work fine and we will get echo hello world. To create a new route we can again do route request type, which in this case doesn't matter, but we can do get, we can do screencasting, followed by an anonymous function, which is our action. And we can do echo hey from screencast. As you can see, the test is still Ajax, so we get not found when we refresh. But when we go to screencasting, which is screencasting, we will get hey from screencast because root was set to screencast and everything was working fine. Another important thing in routing is that we can get variables from root. Basically root any, for example, profile slash variable function. Let's pass in the variable and let's do echo variable. Now when we go to profile, we get not found. But when we go to profile slash, for example, 5, we get echo 5. For example, this can be an ID, and ID again, which will work fine. That means that we get a profile root slash something. It can be, for example, Mate test, and we get this as variable in our function. We can also pass multiple IDs or variables from root to our function, like this, slash another variable, another, pass it here, and let's do echo paragraph, another, and when we go to Mate test, we get not found because we need another variable in our root, which can be example 48, and we get Mate test, which is the first variable in here, and we get 48 because that's the second variable here. That's basically everything we need to know about routing, and we can process to the MVC architecture of framework. We can do a new root, which will go root any MVC, and this time we won't do function, we will do a controller here. Basically that means that we will bind a controller to root. So let's do it like this. Test controller percentage my function, and we'll go to MVC root, which is screencast slash MVC, because our framework is in the screencast folder on localhost. We'll get an error which says that test controller was not found. To solve this problem, we have to create our test controller in app/controllers, which is here. To do so, create a new file, test controller.php, open it, and we have to create a class with the same name as a file. So PHP class test controller, and we also have to create a function that we have specified, which is my function here. So let's create public function my function, and let's do echo hello from controller. And when we hit refresh in our browser on MVC root, we will get hello from controller because we have specified root which is MVC, and points us to the controller and its function. And we have also created the test controller in application/controllers as a test controller file.php. We have created a class, this test controller, and we have created a public function, function. So when we go to MVC, this class is instantiated and this function is called. So we get hello from controller. That's basically everything we need to know about MVC for now. In the next episode I'll be talking more about models and views, which are the next part of MVC. Thanks for watching and see you in the next episode.